3 years ago, I was in the midst of processing my diagnosis of Asperger's and learning what it meant to live as an Aspie. Lib invited me into her journey of learning how to hear God's voice. It's a great story, so stick around to hear what made me say yes to her invitation. Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Lib.
And together, we're Lib and Steve.
In 2017, Steve received his diagnosis of Asperger's. We were pretty shredded relationally by this time. I refer to that time in my life as me being the crumpled woman in the corner. Literally, I was checking off days until I would get to go to heaven. Life was hard, but an invitation from a friend changed everything. I began the most glorious journey of going deeper than I ever knew possible with God. My friend invited me to go through a teaching video series called 4 Keys to Hearing God's Voice. It was 10 weeks long, 1 video per week, with a workbook to help us stay on track. Now, I've been a believer since I was 13 years old, but I never knew it was possible to have dialogue with the God of the universe, actually hear his voice. When I started to learn how to tap into his voice, wow, I heard things that changed my life. Let's find out from Steve some of what he was observing in me.
After I was diagnosed with Asperger's, I had a lot of questions. Where did this come from? How could this have happened? Could I have done anything different to prevent or limit the damage caused by Asperger's? How could this have happened to a Christian? Did God do this to me? Does God love me? My thoughts and questions ran the gamut. Lib was gracious and wise to create a space for me to process this new understanding without putting any demands or requirements on me. As I was processing, Lib was pursuing God in new ways, and after a year, she was no longer the crumpled woman in the corner, but had a peace and a joy I had never seen in her.
I was developing a deep inner peace, resulting from hearing my Heavenly Father speak to me. I was realizing that God wanted to give me wisdom in every area of my life. He is so for our success. One day, I heard him say, "It's time to offer this to Steve." God brought to my memory the verse, "Come taste and see that the Lord is good." God was encouraging me to present this as a gentle invitation for Steve to taste test it. I knew I needed to have no expectations. This was Steve's choice. God allows free will, choice.
Seeing the change in Lib made me curious. I also recognized that we were just drifting farther apart relationally. I was stuck in my Aspie status quo, and Lib was growing and becoming. I truly loved Lib and realized her growth and my stuckness was not sustainable if I hoped to have a vibrant, growing marriage. So I said yes to the invitation.
So we began. I was nervous, but so happy. I got everything all set up with a video and brought a workbook and a pen for each of us.
I really liked what I was learning, and I decided to purchase the actual book to read as we went through the 10 weeks, since reading works well for me, as well as working through the workbook. Mark Verkler, the author, a left-brain analytical teacher, needed strong convincing that he could do this. I am so thankful that he persisted and learned how to have breakthrough with proven results that work for anyone.
We will get into the specific teaching more at length in the next episodes, but today we want to give you a broad overview. Right now, I also want to say that at about week 7, Mark Verkler suggests the first actual time of practicing and trying out his method and hearing God for yourself. So I made sure I had journals and a pen ready for that week. Okay, so for big picture, we'll start by sharing that there were some obstacles for each of us as we began this journey. So for me, I think the biggest obstacle was that I was taught my whole life that this was not possible. Only people in the Bible times heard God's voice. And then it was doubt, thinking that's just my own thoughts I'm hearing. It's not God's voice. So Steve, what were some of the obstacles for you?
As an ASPE, I liked to learn, but really didn't like applying. Applying anything was fraught with multiple anxiety-inducing obstacles, which I tried to avoid at all costs. I was not interested in doing the activity, like at all. I was aware that in week 7 we would be given an opportunity to put the teaching into practice. The moment came, the video was stopped, and we were to apply the teachings. Lib dutifully reached around and grabbed my journal and a pen and said, "Here you go." It wasn't like I could refuse. I resigned to the activity and determined to give it my best. How could I not, after all the effort that Lib put in?
Okay, another big picture overview is that Mark Verkler got a download from God of the 4 keys on how to hear God's voice. It's such a great way that he lays out. And I know you won't want to miss next week when we begin to reveal this powerful teaching.
This teaching and its application was nothing short of revolutionary in my life. And looking back, I know it was a key element in the steps leading to my eventual healing.
And the best part is, we have been consistently practicing this ever since then. It has changed our lives. And I will never stop hearing God's voice. Remember, our breakthrough makes a way for your breakthrough.
Hit the subscribe button and like us. See you next week.